The UN Security Council is set to hold a landmark discussion on the missing persons in armed conflicts. It's supposed to take place this evening, so it's been quite a week. Joining us now from New York is Ronen Neutra, the father of hostage Omer Neutra. Good evening, and you and your wife have been quite busy in your tireless efforts, doing as much as you can from New York. Tell us about this UN speech tonight, this UN meeting, and what you could expect, and are you going to be there?
Yes, Emily, thank you. As we've been pressing, finally the UN Security Council is going to join tonight and hear representatives of the hostage families speaking about the commitment that the UN Security Council must have on their own resolution 2474, that was crafted during the first Trump administration and with his support, that basically calling to release all hostages and all deceased hostages when and if there is a ceasefire and end of war. And as we hoping to get closer to that, there couldn't be a situation where hostages or remains of hostages will be left behind if there is a ceasefire, and thus we're calling on the UN to exercise their own resolution and enforce a release of all hostages, and that's what we're going to be spending this afternoon at the UN.
So also with the release this week, of course, of Idan Alexander, who served in the IDF with Omer, of course, being the captain, of that unit. Does it give you and your wife, Orna, some more hope and optimism that your son will return home for a proper burial?
Well, obviously, we were thrilled to see Idan coming back. We're practically family with Adi and Idan Alexander and their kids. We spent so many days with them and months with them on Capitol Hill, in the White House, advocating for the release of our children. And it's so nice and heartwarming to see Idan coming back. Idan and Omer serve on the same base. It's a small post called the White House, strangely. But we needed the White House to release him. And that's the terrible spot that we are stuck in. 600 days, our values of the Israeli society, that we are calling on our own government to do everything possible to release hostages, and we need the President of the United States to step in and release an Israeli soldier, just to say that that's the most important element. And we were hoping that during his stay in the Middle East, something is going to happen, and of course any minute something can happen, because these things are happening fast. But we are calling on the U.S. government to put the ultimate pressure on Hamas, on the mediators, and on Israel to reach that agreement and stop the war and get the hostages out, because that's the highest level of urgency. We all want the elimination of Hamas, but that can take a second step after hostages are reunited with their families.
Also, you put together, you were one of the leaders in putting together and getting Congress people from both sides, bipartisan, to also send a letter to President Trump. We also know about the released hostages that recently sent a letter to Prime Minister Netanyahu, CCing the Trump administration. Are you getting any information from the administration on continued efforts to do something about it, and, like you said, to pressure Netanyahu to make a deal?
Well, you're absolutely right, Emily. And this Friday, President Trump got a letter from 50 Republicans and Democrats alike from Congress, calling him to exercise his power and reach a ceasefire and an end of war, in the goal of taking out the hostages as the main urgent topic. And this was a bipartisan action that we managed to convince on the Hill. And we unfortunately haven't seen something like that coming from the Knesset. How come both sides of the aisle in the Knesset are not reuniting and saying there is an important element, taking out Hamas, no question. but there is an urgent element, which are the hostages. We know about 20 of them are alive and 35 of them are deceased or more, and all of them must be reunited and brought back home. And that's the urgent matter. I think President Trump understands it, is with us, and I'm hoping he's going to exercise, and I trust that he's putting all the pressure together with Steve Witkoff and Adam Bowler, and now with Ambassador Mike Huckabee, to make sure that all the parties involved will reach a ceasefire, end of war, and the release of the hostages. It's urgent.
Ronen, thank you very much, as always, for your fortitude and your bravery and continuing your tireless efforts, both you and your wife, to bring not only your son, but all the hostages home.
Thank you. Thank you, Emily.